Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for coming and joining us for the learning of Teretz Hashem, Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. We should remember that besides the biggest mitzvah in the world of learning Torah that we engage in here every night, we also are learning about Kabbanis. And it says that whoever learns about Kabbanis is as if he brings Kabbanis. So it's extra. So this is, we really are using our time exceptionally wisely. I'm doing so with a group of wonderful people as well. We are sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Lili Nishmas Yaakov Zeb Ben Yoda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tziv Yemir Bas Gad, Yosef Ben Tzim Ben Yaakov Zev, Ufur Shalema for Moshe Aryeh Ben Miriam, and for the schus of Chaya Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel. We're sponsored by Baruch Ian, Lili Nishmas Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Esther Bas Yona, Avram Ben Shmuel HaKoyin, and Ufur Shalema for Liba Bas Anya. By A.B. Spry, by Mark Frankel, in loving memory of his father, Yisrael Tzvi Ben Chaim Yeshua Falik, by Berish Gesseman, for Shalema for Shana Bas Adina Chana, Berish Bas Miriam Sarah, for the spiritual, emotional, and physical protection for Yeshua Menachem Mendel Ben Bela Shendel Rivka, for Chavar Adaf, Aaron Ben Sarah, and Nachman Yaakov Ben Sarah. We start by the new Mishnah on Daf Pei Hey Amid Beis. Ve'eluim alu yardu. The following, if put on the Mizbeach, have to be taken down. They have no place on the Mizbeach. Basar kachim, meat doesn't, if it's not a sacrificial portions, the basar of kachim, and it's the meat of a chatas, of an asham, Ubasar kachim kalim, the meat of a shlamim, of a taida, Umaisa aimer, the remainder of the aimer, after the kmitza is burnt on the mizbeach, the remainder of the aimer is eaten by the kahanim. It has no place on the mizbeach. So the shtei lechem, the 2 loaves of atzeres, of shvuos, are eaten. The lechem aponim, and the 12 showbread every Shabbos, they don't belong on the mizbeach. V'shorei menachos, and the rest of the menachos after the kamitz is put on the mizbeach, v'aktoris. If the incense is put by accident on the mizbeach achitzin, it has no place on the mizbeach achitzin. It has to be taken down. Also, the following: hatzemer shebarashi kvasim, the wool on the heads of the lambs, v'sar shebezakein, the hair of the beard of tyoshim, of the goats. V'atzamas bones, v'agidim sinews, v'karnayim horns, v'atlofim hooves. Bizman she'im mechubarim, when they're attached, yalu, they go up with the rest of the carbon. Shenemar v'hiktor hakayin es hakol. Pirshu, once they're separated, then lo yalu, then they don't go up. Shenemar v'asisa iloisecha abasav adam, only the sacrificial portions and the blood. So if they're attached, I call them mizbecha. But if they become detached, it's only the bas of Adam that belongs there and nothing else. New Gemara, 3 lines from the bottom of Daf Pei Hey Amid Beis. Was I talking and nobody was hearing me?
I heard.
We heard you. Oh, you heard me. Oh, okay. Oh, just that I couldn't.
Did he say something?
No, just I couldn't hear you. I turned off the sound because of Marav. So if anybody was talking to me, yeah. Well, with some people it is very smart. What happened last night?
What?
All of a sudden you disappeared.
Oh, something to discuss off the shear.
But are you okay now?
That was okay then too.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהכל נהיה בדברו. Now, so the Gemara tells us, Tan Rabbanan, V'hikter HaKayin es HaKol HaMizbecha, the Kayin offers it all on the Mizbech, L'Rabbis, all comes to include that even Atzamais, bones that are attached, Vagidim, sinews, Vakarnaim, horns, Vatlofim, Yochel Afilu Pirshu, I might think that even though they get separated, you should still put them on. Really, the only menu is the sacrificial portions and the blood. If it just said bas of Adam, I might think you should remove the sinews and the bones, and just put on the meat and the blood. So how do we reconcile? Simple. If they're attached, yalu. Pirshu. If they're separated, now listen carefully to what it says. Listen carefully to what it says. Please mute yourself. Listen carefully to what it says. Pirshu. Afilu hein b'rosh hamizbeach. Even if they're on the top of the mizbeach. Not that they shot off. Even if they're on top of the mizbech, they're just not on the fire, yardu. Montana Deshamasley, who's the author that we know, the Amar Pirshu, that if it gets separated, even though it's on the top of the mizbeach, yardu, Rebbe. It's not universal. It's Rebbe. Now there isn't a very big difference. Listen carefully, because there's only a slight difference over here. The Tanya, the Kain smokes it all on the Mizbech. The Rabbi, so Atzamis, Vagidim, Vakarnaim, Vatlofim. Afilu Pirshu. Even if they get separated, but they're on top of the Mizbech. Elamani Mekayim Vosisa Lesecha Basa Adam. Laimalach that Ikule Oila. That digested pieces of the offering that shoot off the mizbeach. You know, the heat is very powerful, and things shoot off the mizbeach. So ikule ayla digested pieces of the burnt offering itself atamazer. V'i atamazer ikule yinim v'atzamis. But if sinews and bones shoot off, you don't return it. So you see, this the Tanakama is different than we've been saying. The Tanakama says that even if it's on top of the Mizbeach, you still put the bones and even the separated bones and the sinews onto the fire. The only thing that you don't do is you don't return those that shot off. Now that's not like we said in the Mishnah. Rebbe says, "Cause of echad Aimer Victor Akain Eskol Mizbeach." You smoke it all on the Mizbech Riba, that's inclusive. Because of Echad Aimer Vasisa Elisecha Vabasav Adam, that's exclusive, the meat and the blood. Meat. Haketzad Mechubarin Yalu. If they're attached, you put it on the pyre. Pirshu, but if they get separated, Afilu Ein Bereisha Mizbech, even if they're on top of the Mizbech, just not on the pyre, Yardu, you take it down. Burn it.
But elsewhere, right?
Well, we're going to talk about it. Certain things are even permitted to be used. We're going to see at what stage. We're going to talk about that. Pirshu lo yalu. If it gets separated, we don't put it back on. So says the Gemara, even Rebbe. It depends, when it gets separated, does it roll away from the pyre or does it roll towards the pyre? Amar Rebbe Zera, see how, in the Beis Hamikdash, everything has a formula. Everything is, I like to compare the Beis Hamikdash, lahavdil, to nursing. Because in nursing, everything is precise. You know, it's not, well, you do it this way, you do it that way. There's precision in everything because, you know, people's health are at stake. You know, there's a lot of precision. You know, don't put on the IV this way, put it on this way. You know, everything. So here, there's a precision over here. It's only when it gets separated, even according to Rebbe, that you take it down. That's only if it rolls away from the pyre. But if it rolls towards the pyre, it becomes closer to being digested. And then vafilu pirshu, even if it gets separated, you put it on the pyre. Rabbah says, we make the following distinction. The only time you take it down, this gets to the guts of what Ruvain Shan had asked. In other words, what's the status of these bones, of these horns? You know, a horn you could use. So, Lo Shanu, that we say that if it comes down, it has a din of kachim, and you can't use it. There would be me'ilah. It's only if it became separated after the zrika. As Rashi says, the kaven the b'shas zrika mechubaran havu, since it was attached during the zrika, kaivasan zrika lemizbeach, the zrika locks it to the mizbeach, and v'chi pirshu, when it gets separated, havalu kachim psulim, it becomes disqualified kachim. Aval pirshu kaidem zrika, but if it gets separated before the zrika, so that means that during the zrika, it wasn't property of the mizbeach. So then, when the zrika comes, like the meat, it permits it to be used. Aval pirshu kaidem zrika, asay zrika v'sharasinu, and causes it to be permitted. Afilu lemevad minau, if it's a bone, you could make from it kata de sakine. You can make from it a handle of a knife. Savala, this is consistent. Ki hadam Reb Yochanan mishum Reb Yishmael. Nemar, it says lo yiyeh ba'ayla. It says it can belong to him. V'nema lo yiyeh ba'asham, and it can belong to him by a guilt offering. Ma asham atzmaisav mutarin, just like a guilt offering. Its bones are mutter, af ayla atzamas mutar. So also an ayla, the bones, if they become separated before the zrika, the bones are mutter. That's the way we're learning here. Says the Gemara, well, you know, if you're going to make a comparison between an asham and an ayla, then these words have to be extra. You see, if the words are extra, so then you can't ask a pircha, you can't ask a refutation, because it's a drasha, and then you can't ask her. So the Gemara says, mufne, the words have to be extra. The iloi mufne, because if they're not extra, ikala mifrach, you could ask a pircha, mala asham shekem b'sarei mota. How could you compare ayla to asham? Asham, its meat is permitted, some to the kayin, some to the owner, while, by an asham just to the kayin, while by ayla, everything goes up on the mizbeach. Says the Gemara, it is extra. Lo yiyah yisei riksiv. Says the Gemara has a problem with this discussion. What's the problem? What's the problem that the Gemara has? Mosiv Rav Ada Barava, Atzmas Kochim Lefnei Zrika Moyelun Bahem. The Atzamas of Kochim, before Zrika, there's Meila, because it's Zrika that causes it to be permitted. La'acha Zrika Ei Moyelun Bahem. But Vishal Oila Moyelun Bahem La'olam. The Oila, you're moyel always. So you see that there's always meili, even that which shoots off before the zrika. So it says, you're reading it wrong. Aim of ishal oila, perishu lifnei zrika, if it gets separated before the zrika, ein moyel him. Like we said, if it gets separated before the zrika, it is not anymore b'nei mizbeach, and the zrika permits it. La'acha zrika, if it gets separated after the zrika, then moyelin b'hem la'olam. Well, once it was attached, during the zrika, it becomes like the rest of the oila, which is also forever. However, this is not universal. This is very interesting. This is not universal. Upliga de Rebbe Lazar. And this is in opposition to an opinion of Rabbi Lazar. The Amar Rabbi Lazar, perishu lifnei zrika, if it gets separated before the zrika, so he holds that since zrika usually is a matir, if it gets separated before the zrika, mayla man, there's mila. La'acha zrika, if it gets separated after the zrika, so then, loy nenin, we don't benefit from it, midrabanan, v'loy moyelin, but there's no mila midaraisa, because the zrika does cause it to be permitted, does cause it to remove the meila. So this is really diametrically opposed from the position of Rabbah, who says that if it separates before the meila zrika, it's completely permitted. If it separates, if it separates before the zrika, it's permitted. If it separates after the zrika, it's forbidden. It's meila. So it's almost like what we call in Shas talk, svarais hafuchais, opposite opinions. I want to take the opportunity to welcome in our 31 Zoomers, as we welcome El Zachter and Marshall and his son, and the Yaakov Warman, Eddie Chazan, Saba, Yitzi Fuchs, Yitzi Muller, Baruch Ian, Mo Kushner. Is that Baruch Ian? Yeah, it's Baruch Ian. Shimon Klein, Michal, Yisrael Fisher, Ruvain Pollack, Rabbi Kranz, Menachem Umansky, A.B. Spry, Dr. Block, Shalom Fogel, Barry Cement, Menachem Umansky, Shelley Zeitman, Mark Frankel, Dr. Guy, Stephen Holtzman, Moshe Lehman, Rebellia Yaffe. Elia could have came, we would have finished way before 9 o'clock. This time you're getting just the summons. Ilya should.
I'm not feeling so great, so this is why I didn't come.
Oh, you're not feeling well. I take everything back and wish you a refuah shalema b'sek shachar Yisrael. Ilya Shutman, Avram Rezepkwitz, Naftali Jablin, and David Helfgott. Here in the shul we have Berish Gassman, Chaim Kramer, Michal Avram, and Danny. It's great to have you back. You should only have to miss because of Simchas and Ruvain Shanit. See, that's why it says I'm a little at fault. The pasuk says "B'tzedek tishbon amisecha." I should first say, Rebellia, why the heck aren't you here? That's what I should first say, and then. Before you shouldn't jump to conclusions, especially with somebody that has a wonderful record like Rebellia Yaffe. With some other people, I won't say who, but But no. He's sitting there with his son so nicely. We'll only say good, sweet, wonderful things about him.
We're going bananas over here. What can I tell you?
You often say nice things. It doesn't mean I can't say nice things. Not nice.
Mr. Cement, how are you?
I'm waiting for my hot dogs. Farmer
Too late,
hot
they ain't
dogs.
come. We just ate them.
Now, says the Mishnah weiter. Yeah, I mean it just we should note that here we're talking. I don't want to use such a crass word, but relative. We're talking about the garbage. We're talking about what shoots off the mizbeach, and how precise we have to be even with that. So the kulan shepaku me'al gabi mizbeach lo yarzer. Says the Mishnah, whatever shoots off the mizbeach should not be returned. V'chein gacheles shepaku me'al gabi is mizbeach. Even a coal that shoots off the mizbeach lo yarzer. Now, what about if a limb shoots off the mizbeach? Eivarim shepaku me'al gabi mizbeach. So says the Mishnah, koidem chatzais, if they shoot off before chatzais, yazer. And since it's not finished yet, loy nasis mitzvasa, umoyala behen. If Barry should benefit from it, he commits milah. La'achar chatzais, if it shoots off after chatzais, lo yazer, you don't return it. And if Barry benefits from it, ve'ein moyalim behem, because it's considered shenasis mitzvasa. Now, we said that the mizbeach has a power that even if something is disqualified, if it's brought onto the mizbeach magnetizes it. Not just the mizbeach has this magnetic power, but the ramp also has such magnetic power. Keshem shamizbeach mekadesh es haroiloi sanctifies that which is fit for it. Kacha kevesh mekadesh. So does the ramp have that power? And keshem shemizbeach vakevesh mekachin es haroiloi. Kacha kelim, so also a klei shares mekachin. Now, what the power of a klei shares, a ministering vessel, is, the Gemara will define. But we'll see that this business of shooting off the mizbeach, if a limb shoots off the mizbeach, that there's a demarcation, that there's a dividing line between before chatzais and after chatzais is not so simple. As the Gemara says, hechi dami, id ispu mamish, if there is still actual flesh on the limb that shoots off, then you have to return it even after chatzais. Afilu achatzais nami. And either leso mamish, and if there's no flesh, it was charred, then afilu kaidem chatzais nami lo. You shouldn't have to return it even before chatzais. Then it's like a piece of coal. Says the Gemara, lo tzricha, and I'm sorry, Mark. Lo tzricha. It's talking about b'shrirei. It's talking about a limb that was hardened by the fire, but it didn't yet become coal. There is meat, but it becomes hard like wood. So there, the cutoff is before chatzais you have to return it. After chatzais you don't. Now, where does that come from? Where does this time before chatzais, after chatzais, where does that come from? So Minari Mili. So this is very interesting. You have two psukim. Amarav kosev echad aimer kol halayla v'hikter, that the whole night you smoke it on the mizbeach. V'kosev echad aimer kol halayla v'herim, the whole night you remove the ash. You have a mitzvah of removing the ash. So which one is it? The whole night is for smoking up, or is the whole night already for cleanup? So the Gemara says, Chalkeyu. We take these two psukim and we divide it. Chetzioi laktara, half for smoking up till chatzais, v'chetzioi laharama, and half for removal of ash. There's a big problem with this, because we're going to see the busiest time of the year in the Beis Hamikdash is Yom Tov. That's the busiest time of the year. Right? They didn't have any cell phones in Beis Hamikdash on Yom Tov. I could assure you that. Even on Chalamayid. They were very, very busy in the Beis Hamikdash. Right? So Masiv Rav Kahana b'chol yom, every day, we know there's a very rarefied mitzvah of Trumas Hadeshin, to remove some of the ash from the altar, put it to the side of the altar where it miraculously absorbed into the ground. When did they do that? So Masiv Rav Kahana b'chol yom, Toyrim es ha-mizbeach mikrois ha-gever. Now, in all over Shas, the word krois ha-gever, the word krois ha-gever has two meanings. It either means the voice of the crier, the vecker, who said, "Shtei for avodas habayre," or it means the cry of the rooster. Either way, they did it mikrois ha-gever from the time of the crier, either a little bit before, or a little bit after. B'Yom HaKippurim, on Yom Kippur, you see, Yom Kippur, there's a saying, a one-man show. Yom Kippur was a one-man show. Yom Kippur, we should have here in the shul a rule: no cell phones. We should have such a rule. On Yom Kippur, it was a one-man show, and as a one-man show, they had to be very considerate of the Kohen Gadol's strength. He did everything. I mean, everything. And Yom Kippur was very busy. Very busy. And he's fasting. And he wasn't a young man a lot of times. So anything they could spread out, they did. So in Yom Kippurim, they had him do it already at Chatzos, to give him a break. But Regalim, on the festivals, there was a pile of ash towering to the sky. Thousands upon thousands of karbanos were brought. So this they started already by Shmoiris Arishayna, by the first watch. The night was divided into 3 watches. So the first watch already is at 10 o'clock in the night. So this has to ring alarm bells. If we took the night and divided it in half for the removal, and half for Aktara, how could they do any removal of the ash before Chatzais? That the start time of the removal of ash was at Chatzais. How could they do it earlier? So Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan now explains it a little bit different. Mimashma shenemar kol halayla. It says kol halayla ad haboker. So it says you do it the whole night ad haboker. Now, if it says the whole night, I know it's until the morning. That's generally what it means. The whole night means until the morning. So mimashma shenemar kol halayla ini yodea she'ad haboker. Ma Talmud Loimer ad boker. What do we learn when it says until the morning? Tain boker leboker shalayla. We add an earlier morning to the morning of the night. In other words, that the Aktara doesn't extend until the morning, but before that, there's an earlier morning. When is that earlier morning? That's up to you. It's on a sliding scale. Hilkach, Kol Yuma Mikreis HaGevesagi. Every day, Torah ends at around the cry of the crier, either a little bit before or a little bit after. B'yom HaKippurim Mishum Chulsha de Kohen Gadol, because of the weakness of the Kohen Gadol, Mechatzais. B'regalim, on the festivals, the Nefishe Karbanais, that there's so many Karbanas, the Kadme Asu Yisrael, that Klal Yisrael came to bring so many Karbanais, so then, Me'ashmeris Harishayna. Kedektani Seifa, like it says, Lo Yoisa Kriyas HaGever Magas, it wasn't already the time of the crow of the crier, or the crow of the rooster, the temple courtyard was full of Yidden coming to bring karbanas. By the way, they didn't do it, you might think, why did they leave such a towering pile on top of the Mizbeach? Throughout the day, they should shovel some stuff off and put it to the side. Why did they leave? The answer is it was a shvach to the Mizbeach for people to come and see a towering pile of ash, towering high to the sky, to see how many Yidden came. You know, it wasn't a cheap thing to buy a carbon. You remember, you had to buy a carbon that was a tumim, that was unblemished. You had to buy a carbon that wasn't a treifa. You had to buy a carbon that was certified, for certain karbanas, was certified that it was a yearling. It had to be certified that it was born naturally and not by cesarean section. It had to be certified that it wasn't a hybrid. So it had to be certified that it was Jewish owned. And you had to bring it. Bring the animals. Bringing the animals up to the Harabayas. You know, we don't have a vision of this. You know, really, it's kedai to have a little bit of an imagery in your mind. You know, where do we have an image of really busy? You go to Sukkot, to Eretz Yisrael, to Birchas Kahanim. Has anybody ever Birchas Kahanim on Sukkot in Eretz Yisrael?
At the Western Wall.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was there. There isn't an inch. Now imagine if all those people had animals with them. And they didn't just bring one animal. Because what happened is, let's say you sinned. By accident you ate chaylev. You had to bring a chattas. You're not going to Eretz Yisrael special to bring a chattas. Even if you lived, remember in those days, they didn't have trains and light rails. Even if you were in Eretz Yisrael, but to get to Yerushalayim wasn't so easy. So when you came up, so you had all your different karbanas, right? You were mavatal mitzvah saseh, and you had an oila, you had a chattas, and then there's a special carbon that you bring when you fulfill the mitzvah of aliyah l'regel. You're not supposed to come up empty-handed. Lo yero fonei reikam. So there's an oilas re'iyah. Then you had your money of ma'aser sheni, which it was a mitzvah to eat meat of karbanis on Yom Tov. I ain't simcha lebabasa to eat meat of karbanis. So you brought a shlomim that you could eat it. So here you're surrounded with 4 live animals, walking with your kids, and everybody around you and everybody's saying, "Watch! Don't step on my animal! Don't give it a mum!" I mean, it's the whole vision is astounding. And then they saw the Mizbeach, and they saw towering to the sky the ash of the Mizbeach. They left it there. That was considered the Noishel Mizbeach, the beauty of the Mizbeach. And Marshall thinks he's tired. It's really,
They're shoveling that somewhere.
A paraduma, it has to be owned by a Jew?
well, no, it doesn't have to be owned. The paraduma is, you see, the difference is paraduma is not kachim mizbeach.
It's not kosher mizbeach.
Kachim, we know it doesn't have to be owned by, we know it doesn't have to be owned by a Jew because we bought it from Dama ben Nasina. Right, we bought it from a guy.
Red Bull is owned by a Jew.
Very good. Good to know. All right, Rabbi, so we did the Mishnah Yomis already. Thank you for joining us, and have a wonderful evening.
Good night, Russ. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Like the papers that people get out.
What do you say, Ruben?
I understand with the certification, I mean, each animal had, what, he had a tag on it, he had the OU, I mean, what?
Of course. Of course. Of course. I mean, just like when you buy meat to eat.
Right, you buy meat, and you look at it, it has, so you mean.
Some animals are certified as.
It had to have its birth date on it,
Okay,
right?
so how do you do this, the owner doing this?
No. It was bought, but there were markets.